Trying to get my camera working. There we go. Okay, my dudes, this is gonna be a different kind of video today because it took me a long time to figure this out, but I had 3 trail runs last year that I've never talked about, and I did not do videos on them last year because, you know, I really didn't know how to talk about them because they were fails. And there are fails in different ways, and I was trying to make sense of this in my head, and sometimes the best way to look at life is just when things don't work, just laugh at it, you know? And so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna talk about these crazy situations I got into last year, one by one, and we're gonna have a little fun with it. So I'm gonna talk about what went right with these trails and what went wrong with them. So the three adventures that I did go on that never made it to YouTube last year are the Overland Expo in May in Flagstaff, the trip to Bryce Canyon, Utah in June, and the trip back, returning to Quitobaquito Springs in August. And I had originally gone to Quitobaquito in 2024, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Okay, so first up, we gotta get some water because it's hot.
Well, I made it to Quitobaquito.
It's an unusually hot year in Arizona this year, so unusual weather pattern or whatever. But okay, so Overland Expo 2025, Overland Expo West in Flagstaff, Arizona. I think it was May 16th. And, you know, starting to feel like I got a little bit of a cold, but I was feeling okay. And so, you know, I burned rubber from Tucson to Flagstaff. And on the way up, you know, I was feeling like, oh, man, maybe I am coming down with something, but I don't know. I'll just take a ton of vitamin C and it'll be fine. So I get there, I get to Overland Expo, and something they didn't tell me when I bought the pass, but in order to pick up the VIP pass that I purchased, you have to arrive the day before the expo and pick it up at a certain place that is not on site with the expo, it's off site. So you have to go to like this secret location, and it's not super secret, but a little bit secret. And you have to pick up your pass from a guy who slips it to you in your car. It gives you your goodie bag and then sends you on your way. Then you go find a campsite, which was first come, first serve at the expo. So what went wrong and what went right? Well, that night I got super sick. Maybe I can sleep off the sinus infection tonight, and you can hear the wind in the trees. Like, it was bad. I started to like feel dizzy, started to get my ears clogged up, started to feel like I had a sinus infection. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna take some Tylenol and I'm gonna plow through this. And the next morning I woke up and had a fever. I was like, oh no, I've been waiting a year to go to Overland Expo. I bought the tickets like something crazy. Like, as soon as, like, the day they dropped, I bought tickets. It was at least 5 months in advance. And, you know, so I thought, okay, you know what? I've come this far. I've got to at least give this a try. So, you know, I got up, got myself out of bed, went to a few sessions. You know, I was just really feeling sick and gross, and I didn't really, so it's like, I'm sick, you know, how much do I really want to shake people's hands and meet people and stuff? Well, I feel like this. I was like walking around trying to get video and forgetting to press the record button. It's just a fiasco, kind of, you know. It's like, oh my gosh. So I would go back to my Jeep and crawl up into my rooftop tent and take a nap. And I wake up and it's getting worse. So I take some more Tylenol, some more vitamin C, and I'm like, okay, well, you paid for this, you're here, you gotta just at least try, right? So I try to go get a little bit more video, and it just got progressively worse and worse and worse. And then I made it through to the next day and finally just called it quits and said, I have to go home and get some antibiotics or something, because I've got something bad. And so I went to the urgent care center, drove all the way home, went to the urgent care center. Turned out I had a double ear infection, and they gave me some antibiotics, and I took them and slept for like 3 days. Then I was fine. But okay, so that's what went wrong with Overland Expo. While I was there, though, I did get to see some amazing vendors, some amazing sites, some fun things with overlanding gear and mods, and different people I did meet. Met some different people there. I went to the Tread Cred booth, and they were really fun. And there was a guy camping right across from me who had this really nice decked out Jeep Gladiator, and I thought I recognized him. And I struck up a conversation. Hey, can I get some video with you? He's like, oh yeah, sure. And he just starts rolling, and like he probably talked for 20 minutes straight. I mean, he knew every component on his Jeep. He was great on camera, and I was like, you know what? I know this guy. And it turned out to be, it was Carrie from Trail Traveler, the Trail Traveler channel. And he was just so nice. He was like the nicest guy ever. And he just took that time out to talk to me about his Jeep and give me a good interview. But it just unfortunately I was too sick to interact with him. But my neighbors at my campsite were great. I met another gentleman with a red Rubicon 392, like exactly the Jeep that I want to get. And and I think that's where you go to these events really just to meet new people and kindred spirits. It's like if you're in overlanding, these are your people. So that was Overland Expo 2025. That was my first trail fail. Fast forward to June of 2025. I am going on a trip up north to Lone Rock Beach, and then, which is at Lake Powell, and then on to Bryce Canyon. The Lone Rock Beach leg of that trip was great. It was really a super scenic destination. There's if you're into boating and water skiing, that kind of stuff, and you have that, you're gonna love it. Other than that, it's really a desert with a super beautiful lake. I ended up getting some epic photos from that leg of the trip. So that much of it was a success. So what went wrong? Well, going up to Bryce Canyon, it was a long drive. It was like a lot longer than I had anticipated. And when I got there, I noticed that there were plumes of smoke that were coming up over the trees. And I thought, okay, that looks like a forest fire. So my plan going up to Bryce Canyon was to wheel out to the wilderness, and I had picked a spot that I had found on a trail that had a really, really scenic overlook. So my plan was to wheel out and camp out there in the wilderness. Well, Mother Nature had other plans. And the forest fire was exactly where I was going to go wheeling. And unfortunately, that blunted my progress from doing that part of the trip. So there was, going to be no Jeep adventure content, no off-road content. It's just like basically that part of it was blown. So what went right about that trip? Well, I did actually purchase a spot at the National Park campground as a backup plan before I left. Something told me, you know what, you should have a backup. And the price was like, it was like $12 a day or something for that camp spot. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just get this as a backup. And I ended up needing it both nights. And it was, so I'm sitting in my camp spot and I'm looking at the smoke coming over me thinking, oh boy, are we going to get evacuated, But we ended up not getting evacuated and everything worked out okay. So there's a guy with a blower up here and some landscaping gear. So I'm going to stop the video while I walk past these guys.
How's it going?
Okay, so where were we? So what went right about this? So I was able to get some really great photographs of Bryce Canyon. It was super beautiful, dude. It was like a magical place. If you ever get the chance, it's a long drive. I mean, I can respect people saying I can't make that drive, but man, if you ever have the chance, it's a place you got to go once at least. The canyon hike, which I didn't do, is really cool, and the views are just over the top magic. So if you can go there once in your life, you need to go there. Let's see, what else? Oh, the campgrounds at Bryce Canyon were just like incredibly clean. Like I've never seen campgrounds this clean. Like the bathroom was like shining and it smelled like chemicals. Like you could sit on the floor of the bathroom. As nasty as that sounds, I mean, this place was so dang clean. I've never seen a campground this clean. So whoever the ranger is there really has it together. It was a blessing that I bought the campsite passes. So, it wasn't a mess or anything. We didn't get evacuated. That was a blessing. And it's like I got to go there. So, okay, it was a success just being there. So that was Bryce Canyon in June of 2025. So now for our last trail fail of 2025, I went in August of 2025, I went to Quitobaquito Springs. Quitobaquito Springs is a pond that is it's formed from a natural spring, and it's down right on the border of the US and Mexico. And it's about, I want to say, 10 miles west, 10 miles west of Lukeville, Arizona, totally out in the middle of nowhere. And it's right on the southern border of the Organ Pipe National Monument, which is a giant desert park. So I went to Quitobaquito Springs for 3 reasons, other than just general exploring. So the first reason was to get pictures of the Quitobaquito pupfish. All right, so it's a fish that only exists in that pond. This carp gonna run me over. So the Quitobaquito pupfish. The second reason was to get pictures of the Sonoran mud turtle. All right, it's a turtle that apparently is native to that area and only lives in that area. Then the third reason was to get a photo in this particular spot that is right on the border wall, and get my Jeep, get my Jeep in this composition where there's a sign that says no unauthorized entry or something like that, and the border wall's right behind it, and it stretches a long way, and it just looks ominous and magnificent. So I wanted to get that photo. So what went wrong? What went wrong with Quitobaquito was that the forecast said that the nearby area was going to be like 85, 87 degrees. Turned out to be about 20 degrees hotter than that at Quitobaquito. It was so hot. It was like 105. I was so hot and sweaty, and it was just like, it was muggy down there, and it was just like, there was no shade, and it felt like, no matter how much water I drank, I didn't have enough water. But I was like, okay, I can power through this. I'm from Arizona. We can do heat. So the second thing that went wrong at Quitobaquito Springs, these pupfish, which I went to go get a picture of, and I figure, if you just wait and sit still by the reeds when you're near a pond or something, if you sit still long enough, you can see the fish. The fish will start swimming closer to the reeds because that's where the food is. And so I thought I'd do that. No pupfish. So I'm like, okay. So I walk around the pond, trying to find an area where I can see into the water and catch a glimpse of these pupfish. And I have a polarizing filter on my camera, so I thought I could get through the water a little bit and get at least one shot, right? So I'm walking around, nothing. Then I find the estuary. I don't know if that's what you call it. It's like the little tiny canal where the water actually drains from the spring into the pond. Okay. And as I'm looking closely, I'm seeing there's little fish that resemble the drawing, because there is no pictures. I couldn't find any pictures of this fish. There's a drawing of them, and I see these little tiny fish about that big, about the size of my pinky, swimming in this little estuary. I'm like, you gotta be kidding, dude. Like, is that it, really? Like, is that it? Yes, that was it. These things they don't get very big, okay? So, what is going on? Oh, yes, record my outdoor walk. All right, so where was I? So I'm gonna switch hands because I can. So the next thing is, I'm like, okay, well, so the fish are out. What about the turtles? Well, it was so hot that the turtles were going under the water and just sticking their snout out of the water to get air. And the turtles weren't that big. The turtles were probably maybe not even as big as my palm, right? So apparently I did not do my research before going out, and was a little bit caught off guard by the wildlife not wanting to cooperate. I did get some pictures of turtles, but I mean, it's hardly if I didn't tell you they were turtles, you wouldn't know. So yeah, that happened. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pack up my gear. I'm gonna go back to my Jeep, and I am going to get that photo, right? That one epic photo. So this is where things start to go right for me. Because right when I get to my Jeep, I notice there's a border patrol truck speeding down the border, like dust coming up from behind it and everything. It was like, that thing was making tracks. He was going probably 40, 50 miles an hour. And I was like, wow, that's, must be after somebody, right? So I make it back to my Jeep, turn on the AC full blast, start to get cooled down. And this dude, Border Patrol truck, pulls up and stops where I'm parked. I'm sort of backed into a spot, and that where I want to take a photograph was right there. So he stops right before that sign. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. So I jump out of my Jeep with my camera, or actually I back up my Jeep with my camera and back up to that sign, and I end up getting what I think was one of my most epic photos with my Jeep, the no unauthorized entry sign, and the Border Patrol truck right there, all right lined up in front of the border wall. And it was exactly the shot that I had envisioned in my mind, you know, plus. So I was very grateful for that. And so, okay, yeah, you know what, it was a bit of a miss with the wildlife. You know, I was really hoping to get those photos, but you know, maybe that one photo was worth it. I don't know. Quitobaquito is a weird trail because it's right along the border. And when I went there in 2024, something weird happened. I was going down the trail and noticed that there are people crossing illegally into the United States through the border wall. Holes, various ways that they had made through that border wall. And so when I went there in 2024, I only had a bikini top on my Jeep. And so I had a ton of gear. So that was pretty poor planning on my part. Sorry, trying to readjust this thing. There we go. And so yeah, it was kind of poor planning on my part, but whatever. You know, I said so I didn't want to leave all my gear in my Jeep and then go exploring then. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to go exploring, but I'll come back. So then on my way out of Quitobaquito Springs, I just see this sort of like legion of people, this long line of people making that walk, which is like, you know, depending on where you come through, it's like 10 or 5 miles up to what they had at the time, which was this aid station. Okay, this aid station was set up with bathroom, with porta potties and a hand washing station and water, and like they had this all set up for people. And these people would come across the border, and there's a Border Patrol agent there, and they would just come surrender to the Border Patrol agent. And they would sit there for hours. And so I got my camera gear then, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna see what happens to these people. I was there for maybe 3 hours. I assume that they were there until after dark, long after dark. And I ended up just leaving because I was like, okay, I don't want to get home at like 3 in the morning because I had a 3.5 hour drive ahead of me. And so I ended up just packing up and leaving. So this time in 2025, I go, and that aid station is gone. Everything's gone. It has been scraped. That whole site is like completely cleaned out, and there is not a soul to be seen anywhere. There's nobody crossing the border. And it was just, it was a little bit wild, you know. It was like, I wonder, you know, it's like, I wonder if everyone, you know, there's obviously a game that's being played politically with the border, and you know, we don't hear about it, we don't know about it because it's not a game that we're involved in, you know. So anyway, that was interesting. Yes, there was aspects of Quitobaquito that were interesting. Was it a total fail? No. You you know, but we can look back at it and kind of laugh and say, you know, maybe I should have, I don't know, maybe I should have really like gone academic and tried to find some deep resources. But, you know, the U of A website didn't really have anything on the wildlife, like the size or, you know, expectations wise. It just sort of mentions that these are native species to the area, and that's it. They just drop it. So anyway, it is what it is. You know, I went, I saw, and I left. So that's really it, guys. I mean, sometimes, you know, sometimes these trail adventures, sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. And they're all fun in their own way. But, you know, you just got to look back at it and enjoy the good parts and try and laugh at it when it doesn't work out, or else you'll just be like, what just happened? You know, I just totally blew a weekend and a couple $100 on gas, and you'll start just, you know, spiraling on all the problems. But, and would I trade it? You know, would I have rather stayed home? No. Nope, I'm always down for the adventure, no matter what it is. So yeah, I'll do it again, for sure. All right, guys, I hope you liked the show this week. Hit me up in the comment section if you have any questions about any of these adventures or destinations. You know, hit the like button or the dislike button or any of the buttons, you know, at the bottom of the screen. They're all good. Yeah, let me know what you think, dudes. So I appreciate you watching till the end. You're the best. Stay awesome. And I'll see you on the next Shift into Sunshine. Cut. Okay, just like that, I made it home. So, yeah. I'm gonna get some lunch now.